I'm beginning my 4th year of real estate, and these are the 3 biggest things that I've learned in the last 3 years. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video. I'm getting into my 4th year of real estate now, so I wanted to share 3 things that I've learned in my 3 years of real estate. It's honestly super tough to narrow down because there's so many things that you learn. But these are 3 things that I feel are pretty important if you're looking into a real estate career. These 3 things will probably be pretty helpful to hear ahead of the time. So not to get super deep or anything right off the rip, but the first thing that I've learned is that you have to remember who you are outside of real estate and that your sales or your volume does not define you. Obviously, we play a numbers game every single day. When you look around, whether it's in your office or just around your area, and you see a lot of agents who are just crushing it, if you're not doing as well at that time, it's really important to remember that that doesn't make you any less of a human. Truth be told, in those moments where you're not doing as good as you feel like you should, if you really take a long, hard look in the mirror, ask yourself the tough questions, and really get real, you'll probably find that you're just not doing what you're supposed to be doing. But it is certainly not a reflection of you as a person. It's really important to know that because this job is an absolute roller coaster, and there's times where you're going to feel like you're the best in the world, and there's times where you're going to feel like you have no idea how you're going to make a buck. Whether you're in a high or a low period, it's important to remember that this is not your identity. It can be a big part of your identity without it being your identity, if you know what I mean. You got to learn to separate the two. We all have the same goal, and it's to do as much business as possible. We all go through periods where it's not amazing. Keeping your head up and keeping a smile on your face is going to help you get right back on the right track much faster. To kind of dial it back a little bit, the second thing that I feel is super important is that communication is key. And that's a phrase that we hear thrown around all the time, but in real estate, it is probably the most true thing out there. In a job where you really have to trust people and other people have to trust you, it's important to always be as transparent and open as possible. Sometimes things are going to happen, and in those moments especially, it's important to be the best communicator that you can possibly be. A real estate transaction is no small matter. So even though you're doing them a lot, the person that you're representing or the person that you're helping is probably super stressed. So you need to be as good of a communicator as possible. A lot of times people say that we wear a bunch of different hats. Sometimes being a therapist is one of them. And if you got to do it, you got to do it. At the end of the day, it's going to be worth it to be a really good communicator, even when times are tough. Maintaining an open line of communication with your broker and your client and the co-op agent and anybody else involved in the transaction is just going to make things go much more smooth. Don't be the person that makes somebody wait forever to get a response. Obviously, the job can get stressful sometimes, but that's not an excuse to stop communicating. Communication is definitely key in real estate. The third thing I've learned, and I already knew this going into real estate, but it's really just been amplified over the years, is to create raving fans. I remember when I was like 15 or 16 years old going to work at Chick-fil-A. They sat me down the interview and said, our mission is to create raving fans or something along those lines. Of course, you're like, what does that mean? It means don't be the agent that just does the job, does enough to get by, does just enough to get the deal sold, and then move on. Create raving fans out of your clients. We always say the referral business is key, and the only way that you're going to do that is by being the absolute best agent you can possibly be and turning them into raving fans. This way, when they're out in public or when they're at a family event or a friend event and they hear about somebody wanting to list their house, they're excited to jump and say, hey, you should definitely use my agent. We had a great experience. Obviously, so many people know agents these days, but that really doesn't matter. You're only hurting your chances of ever getting referral business if you don't do the best job possible for your clients. So go into every deal with the expectation that you're going to turn these clients into raving fans. That way, once their deal is closed, not only do they feel satisfied, but they're ready to tell their friends and their family to use you so they can have the same great experience they did. Once again, there's like a billion things you learn in this business, and there's probably some that will come to me that I'll be like, dang, I wish I would have thought of this instead. But I've only been in it for 3 years, so those are 3 things that I feel are super important. If you type this video in and watch other people's, there will probably be completely different things, but those are 3 things that I think are super valuable. I'm thankful to even have made it 3 years in this career. A lot of people can't say that. I hope whoever's watching this would consider using me and referring me to their friends and family so I can make this next year the best one yet. But thank you to everybody who's allowed me to get to this point. Once again, I appreciate you all, and I'll see you in the next one.